Hello and welcome to this short video. My name is Mutenguna-Franklin-Mukakanga Nalubamba, and I'm here to introduce myself to you and begin the process of getting to know you and perhaps the process of your getting to know me in turn. I'm the firstborn son of Munyati Mukakanga Nalubamba, also known as Rex Ephraim Mukakanga, who was the firstborn son from the first marriage of his father, Mutenguna-Franklin-Mukakanga Nalubamba, who in turn was the firstborn son from the fourth house of his father, Mutenguna-Franklin-Mukakanga, who was registered as first Chief Nalubamba, who was the firstborn son from the second house of his father, Choe, who in turn was a grandson of Munyati. And of course, those who know our history know that Munyati was the great renowned Mwami of our people, who is known to have fought Sebitwane during the Makololo Wars. So, like I said, I'm here to begin the process of getting to know you and the process of your getting to know me, because I believe that there's a lot that we can do together to begin to change the way things are in our community, to begin to change the way things are amongst our families, to begin to change the way things are in our chiefdom, which is the chiefdom of Nalubamba. And beyond that, really to begin the process of healing our community. Why do I speak of healing? I speak of healing because it's no secret to any of us that our chiefdom is currently in a lot of trouble. By that I mean that there has been a breach of custom that has led to a situation where we're not even sure who the chief is, a situation where we don't know how it is that our traditions have found themselves being trampled underfoot by certain people to the point where we're really in a broken space. Now, this brokenness is not just a reflection of the brokenness that's existing in our community as a chiefdom, but it's also an expression of the brokenness that's happening in our families. And I mean all our families. I'm talking about the royal family itself, and I'm talking about the families of the people who are all a part of our community. Now, it's heartbreaking essentially because we come from a culture in which the respect for our elders is the cardinal thing. The respect for our elders that marks our manhood or womanhood as young people and as people who have come from people, so to speak, is something that's such an important part of our value system that when it gets broken down, especially deliberately, especially willfully, it really creates repercussions throughout the fabric of our existence that cannot be ignored. What do I mean? This is what I mean. You and I come from afar. We come from a lineage. Each one of us comes from people. We come from parents who in turn came from their parents, who in turn came from their parents, going all the way back in time. And from us come our children, who in turn will have their own children, who in turn will have their own children, and so on and so forth. So everything that happens in any space is really a generational situation. We're not looking at just a simple problem that has to do with one person or one group of people. We're looking at a situation where the elders that came before us, all our ancestors, are disrespected, and where we put a curse on the children that come after us when we choose to be in this space. I decided to address this directly because I believe that while it is good for us to have developmental goals and to be thinking about where we want to go in our own lives as people who have our own personal ambitions, and also as people who are proudly descendants of the inhabitants of Mbeza, the inhabitants of Chitongo, we all find ourselves in a situation where we must make a decision for ourselves as to what we are going to do for our future. In short, looking for political solutions is one thing, and we may think about political solutions and we may think in terms of what happens if government steps in to try to help us do this or help us do that. But let's remember that one of the things that sets us apart as Vaila is the truth that we have always been extremely resilient and extremely independent. So rather than thinking of somebody come and save me, somebody come and help me, somebody come and get this load off me, why are we not looking at the core of our situation and saying to ourselves, how do we get ourselves out of this position and out of this situation? I'm addressing this because over the coming days, I will be sharing a number of things with you. I will be sharing initiatives with you. I'll be sharing thoughts with you. I'll be sharing concerns with you. I'll be sharing information with you that will be helping us navigate this space in which we are. And I say we because much as I may not have grown up in Chitongo, I happen to be a person who knows for a fact that my roots are Chitongo and my roots are Mbeza. My roots are deep amongst our people. And what this means is that I might be so-called civilized or so-called educated at this point in time. And it is really just a point in time that I have found myself in, but it does not make me any better than the people who are inhabiting our villages in the deepest areas of the chiefdom. So what we're looking at trying to deal with in this particular space and point in time is to deal with a rift that is causing us to be even further disconnected from our ancestors, and one that is causing trouble for our children to follow if we don't deal with it. And I'm really raising this because at this point in time, each one of us is the sharpest point, the spear's tip of our ancestry. You represent the very tip, the sharpest point of your ancestry's line and movement through time. And if you don't recognize this, and you don't recognize how in failing to stand up for what is right in this time, in failing to make the corrections you need to make in this time in order to set things in the right order, you are laying down a curse for your generation and for the generations to come. And it's important that I mention this at this time because we have a lot of corrective work to do as a chiefdom. And this corrective work goes way beyond who is sitting on the throne. It goes way beyond who is managing the office of chief at this particular point. And it goes into, can we begin to find actual solutions for our very real issues and very real problems? The last time I was in Chitongo, I found myself lamenting the extent to which we have such a dead economic space. And this is apart from the fact that there seems to be total chaos when it comes to the way in which we're building our buildings and so on and so forth, but we're doing the best we can. So one cannot fault us for trying to do what we can to better our lives. But what I'm trying to say is this: the economy of our local area is in our own hands. And whether we are able to make it come back to life or whether it will die off completely is in our hands. Why ours? Because we are the people who are around now. I'm going to share something that I shared with my brother Namayenga a few days ago. And it is something that, some people who have spoken about the spiritual basis of life and how our words speak life or death into any particular space will recognize what I'm about to say, which is that we might want to think as a community about possibly changing the name of Chitongo, because Chitongo is essentially a ruin. Okay, and if we're saying it's an old ruin at that, you see, when we say Matongo, we're talking about ruins. We talk about Chitongo, we know that Chi in our language is an expression of something old. Okay, so you're talking about an old ruin. And if we were to be able to find out perhaps what the nature of that space was before it was abandoned as a ruin, maybe we can recover some of the spiritual energy that would enable us to be able to breathe life back into this space. But one of the things that I see, and this is what I was telling my brother, is that we might actually want to consider changing the name of Chitongo to something else so that we're not cursing ourselves or bringing something down on ourselves that is causing the space to die. Because if you're saying that a place in Chitongo, then you're essentially saying that this particular location is one that has no use anymore. How can we thrive? How can we bring value to this place? How can we grow in power in a place in which we recognize and keep talking about being ruined? Think about that. All right, something worth thinking about. Now, essentially what I was saying about this particular video was that I really just wanted to begin the process of our beginning to get to know each other. I've introduced myself, you know who I am, and you know that ndi mwana mwami, so to speak. And that's one of the important things that you need to know. And therefore, that my commitment, the commitment I'm making to you now as we speak, is that I am here to work for the good of our people. I'm here to work for the upliftment of our people. There are many initiatives, many ideas, all kinds of things that I have, but guess what? They cannot happen without you. It's impossible for anything to happen without your participation. So thank you so much for watching this initial video. Sorry about the glitches, but you see, when you're trying to share something authentic and something true, sometimes it will not necessarily happen in the smoothest way. So I've shared with you, and please like and share the video. Please let other people know that we are on the verge of something great as Mbeza, Bana Munyati, as the people of Chitongo. We are about to begin a new journey, and I'd be excited to have you join me on it. If you want to know more, go to nalubamba.com. That's www.nalubamba.com, and see the hub that's been created that's really trying to capture the various sides of what we're trying to do. And if you want to know more about Chiefdom, about its history, go to the tab on there that says MRE Home. That's Mbeza Royal Establishment Home, and get to know a little more. So that's all I have to share right now, and I'm going to end while the video is still giving me a pose that looks a little okay with my hands together. I'm going to end this video now and hope that you have yourself a good day, a good night, a good time, wherever you might be, and let's stay in touch.